1983, a young woman working inside the Bihar Legislative Assembly died in a very strange way. She had lived her whole life as a follower of Hinduism, but not long before her death, she had changed her religion to Christianity. Because of this, she was buried in a Christian cemetery. Very soon, this shocking news reached two of the biggest newspapers in Patna. Both newspapers had their own secret sources. The story was so serious that it was printed on the front page of both papers. On May 11th, the newspapers reported that the girl's death was suspicious. They also revealed something even more disturbing, that her body was buried in a hurry, within just 4 hours after her death. That morning, Bihar woke up like it always did. People went on with their normal lives, but from that day onward, the peaceful sleep of many powerful leaders was about to end. Because the girl who had died was not just any ordinary girl. She was a woman whose beauty opened the biggest doors of Bihar's politics for her. And that same beauty finally pushed her into an early grave. Her real name was Shweta Nisha Trivedi, but in Patna, everyone knew her by one name, Bobby. People say that at that time, powerful leaders, ministers, and MLAs were desperate just to see her smile, just to catch her attention. They stayed around her all the time. Leaders visiting her house without any clear reason became such a normal thing that people could guess she was home just by looking at the long line of cars parked outside. She was only 35 years old. Still, the way people talked about her made it feel like she was a movie star, a famous face, a center of attraction, surrounded by power and influence. From small tea stalls in the morning to evening meetups on street corners, her name was spoken everywhere in Patna's lanes and neighborhoods. And then, one night, everything suddenly changed. Many people claimed that Bobby had close ties with more than 40 MLAs and ministers. Some even called her someone's kept woman and said she had now become a burden. But no one truly knew what really happened to her. And this was not a normal death. Because if it were normal, her body would not have been buried within just 4 hours. If it were normal, there would not have been 2 different death certificates. And if it were normal, 2 ministers and more than 40 MLAs would not have threatened the chief minister by talking about toppling the government. So the real question remains, who killed her and why? Bobby was the adopted daughter of Rajeshwari Saroj Das, who was the chairperson of the Bihar Legislative Council at that time, and also a senior leader of the Congress Party. In this story, we will use Bobby's real name, Shweta Nisha Trivedi. Shweta Nisha had been married once, but the marriage did not last long. After some time, the relationship broke down, and she took a divorce. The moment news of her death appeared in the newspapers, people were filled with questions. Hundreds of doubts came to their minds. How could the daughter of such a powerful and well-known leader die in this way? And how could it happen when no one seemed to know anything about it? By now, the news had spread across Bihar like fire. On that same day, the SSP of Patna, Kishore Kunal, read the shocking headline on the front page of the newspaper. As mentioned before, Shweta Nisha was not an ordinary woman. Many people already knew her face and her name, and the SSP also knew very well who she was. But the most shocking thing was this. No information about Shweta Nisha had reached any police station. No complaint had been filed anywhere. There was no report, no call, nothing at all. Because of this, the SSP himself ordered a case to be registered at his own police station and decided to start the investigation personally. In reality, it was almost a dead case. No one knew where the body was. No one knew how the woman had died. There was not even an FIR on record. In simple words, the entire case was now completely in the hands of the police. The first person Kishore Kunal went to meet was Nisha's mother, Rajeshwari Saroj Das, who was also the chairperson of the Bihar Legislative Council. He personally went to her official residence to speak to her face to face. There, Rajeshwari Saroj Das told him that Shweta Nisha had died on the morning of May 8, 1983. This meant something very serious. 2 or 3 days before the news even appeared in the newspapers, her death had already taken place. And not only that, After she died, her body was buried in a nearby cemetery without any delay. This was a major breakthrough for the police. At last, they had a strong starting point for the investigation. Naturally, Kishore Kunal wanted to know more details from Rajeshwari Das. He tried to ask her several questions related to the case, but at that time, she did not speak much. It seemed she was still deeply hurt and unable to deal with the pain of losing her daughter. Even though Kishore Kunal and his team now had enough information to move ahead, something extremely shocking came to light soon after. The police discovered that there were 2 post-mortem reports in this case. Yes, only one body, but 2 different post-mortem reports, and both reports had been written by 2 different doctors. In one post-mortem report, the reason for Shwetnisha's death was written as a heart attack, but in the second report, the cause was said to be internal bleeding inside the body, which often becomes deadly. This left the police in deep confusion. Which report was true, and which one was false? How could the same person have 2 completely different reasons for death? Because of this clear conflict, the police took a bold decision. They decided that Shwetnisha's body would be taken out of the cemetery and a fresh post-mortem would be done once again. The police still had hope. They believed that this step might finally reveal the truth. Maybe something important had been missed earlier. Maybe a new clue would come out and change the direction of the case. For this, the police worked with full focus. Many papers were prepared, several permissions were needed, and every legal step was carefully followed. In the end, even the court gave its approval for the exhumation. At last, Shwetnisha's body was taken out of the cemetery and sent for another post-mortem examination. Everyone waited for this report with hope. The police believed that this time the case would finally move ahead and the true reason for her death would come out. But instead of making things clear, this report made the mystery even deeper. According to this fresh report, Shwetnisha had not died from a heart attack. She had also not died due to internal bleeding. The real cause of her death was poison. Yes, poison. The poison was identified as malathion. The moment poisoning was confirmed, the investigation finally found a clear path. Until then, the police had been moving in all directions, unsure of where the truth really was. But when the post-mortem report clearly showed poisoning, the SSP immediately understood one thing. This was not an accident. This was a murder. From that moment on, the entire investigation changed direction and moved forward with that belief. The police then reached the government bungalow and searched every corner of the place. They carefully checked each room, including Shwetnisha's room. During this search, their attention went to a small outhouse on the property. The investigation then shifted there, where 2 young men were staying. When the police started questioning them, something completely unexpected happened. The 2 men revealed a shocking detail, something the police had never imagined and were not prepared to hear. They told the police that on the evening of May 7th, Raghuvar Jha had come to meet Shwetnisha. Now, this man Raghuvar Jha was not just any normal person. He was someone very important. He was the son of Radhanandan Jha, who at that time was counted among the most powerful leaders in Bihar. Because of this, his name immediately caught everyone's attention. The 2 men also said that Raghuvar Jha had brought a few things with him when he came. But after that, everything became unclear. But suddenly, no one knows what went wrong. On the night between May 7th and May 8th, Shwetnisha was taken to the hospital at 8:18. Sadly, she did not survive and passed away early in the morning, around 4 a.m. They further revealed something even more disturbing. Shwetnisha's post-mortem was done in great haste, right there, without delay. Soon after that, her body was buried quickly. As soon as the police heard the name of such a powerful leader's son, even they were left shocked and speechless. The moment this news came out of the police station and reached the public, the case blew up like a storm. Powerful leaders began to feel uneasy. Many of them started worrying about what else those 2 men might have told the police. Little by little, new truths began to surface. It became clear that this was not just one death. Many hidden secrets were tied to it, and they were slowly coming into the open. At the same time, the pressure on SSP Kishore Kunal increased very fast. But people who knew him were sure of one thing: he never bent under pressure and never worked under anyone's influence. Even in this tense situation, Kishore Kunal stood firm and did not step back. However, Bihar's chief minister at that time, Jagannath Mishra, perhaps could not handle the growing storm in the same way. One day, he called Kishore Kunal for a meeting. Looking serious, he asked him a simple but heavy question: what exactly is this case, and why has it become so big? Along with this, the chief minister also said that he would handle the matter in his own way, and told Kishore Kunal not to take too much stress about it. At that moment, Kishore Kunal replied with words that he later repeated in an interview. He calmly told the chief minister, "Your image has not been damaged in this case, and it will not be. Till now, during the investigation, no one has pointed a finger at your character. But this is not a normal case. This is fire, a burning flame. Stay away from it. If you try to touch it, your hands will also get burned." Kishore Kunal later said that after hearing this, the chief minister did not respond at all. He simply told him to go. By that time, the investigation was almost finished. Reports said that Rajeshwari Saroj Das was also ready to speak in court about her daughter's death. The police were fully prepared to arrest the accused. A very big scandal was about to come out, and many powerful leaders' names were expected to be revealed. But just at that moment, around 4 MLAs from the ruling party, along with 2 or 3 ministers, went to meet Chief Minister Jagannath Mishra. They demanded that the Patna police should be removed from the case, and that the investigation should be given to the CBI at once. The chief minister came under heavy pressure. Many big and influential people linked to the government were connected to this case. There was also fear that the government itself could collapse. Because of this pressure and danger, on 25 May 1983, the case was finally handed over to the CBI. Now look carefully at the timeline. On the morning of 8 May, Shwetnisha died. On 11th May, the news appeared in the newspapers. And on 25th May, the case was handed over to the CBI. This means that within just 14 to 15 days, the case came out in public and was transferred to the CBI. Even though the Patna police were doing a proper investigation and had almost reached the accused. But because this case could have harmed some powerful people, it was quickly taken away from the Patna police and given to the CBI. Now you might be thinking, where was the opposition at that time? Why were opposition parties silent? Why did no one protest when such a big case was being openly pushed under the carpet, right in front of everyone's eyes? The truth was that even the opposition parties were standing with the government and raising questions about how the police were doing the investigation. In simple words, whether it was the people in power or those sitting in opposition, everyone had something to lose if the full truth of this case came out. In the end, the case was handed over to the CBI. The CBI went even further than the Bihar government's ministers and Congress leaders. This case belonged to Bihar's capital, Patna, where it was believed that Shwetnisha was murdered. But shockingly, the CBI never went there. Not a single CBI officer ever visited Patna to investigate the case. Instead, they stayed in their office in Delhi and created a story so unbelievable that hearing it would leave anyone stunned. In its final report, the CBI made a surprising claim. It stated that this case was not a crime by someone else. According to the report, it was a case of self-harm. The CBI said that Shwetnisha had taken sleeping tablets and passed away because of that. The agency also said that Shwetnisha was emotionally attached to a young man and wanted to marry him. When that proposal did not work out, she was said to be deeply disturbed. According to the CBI, in that emotional state, she took the tablets and made this decision. However, one thing did not seem normal. At that time, sensible tablets were commonly used for stomach-related issues. This made people question whether such medicine could really lead to such a result. Not only this, the CBI also presented a note during the investigation. They claimed that this note was written by Shwetnisha herself before the incident. What shocked everyone even more was the note that was said to be written by Shwetnisha. The local police never found any such note, even though they had been deeply investigating the case on the ground from the very start. But strangely, the CBI, without ever visiting Patna, somehow managed to get hold of this note and present it as evidence. During the police investigation, there was also never any talk of a lover. There was no proof, no statement, and no sign that Shwetnisha was in any relationship or wanted to marry someone. Then, a few days later, the forensic laboratory raised serious doubts about the post-mortem report. They clearly stated that there were no signs of the tablet mentioned by the CBI found in the body. Instead, traces of a chemical poison were detected. And surprisingly, the CBI had an explanation for this too. An explanation that many people felt was nothing more than a joke. The agency said there might have been some mistake while preparing the report. They claimed that whatever they said was the real truth. In the end, exactly what some powerful people wanted is what happened. The CBI submitted its report in court, and the court accepted it as correct. But many serious questions remain. How did a whole government come forward to defend itself over the death of just one girl? How was the honest investigation done by an officer like SSP Kishore Kunal pushed aside? And how did a false story, created after a flawed CBI probe, get accepted as the truth? Many years have passed since the case file was closed. Even now, people want the truth. But that truth has been hidden so well that it may never come out. Who was behind the Bobby case? How many people were involved? We may never know.